mum who was trapped in an abusive hell with her husband for years has revealed the terrifying moment she finally managed to escape, thanks to 5 secret words she spoke to her taxi driver. Rosie Frankish, 26, from Warrington in Cheshire, was left fearing for her life after her abusive ex-partner Daniel Little forced his way into her home and launched a sickening 6-hour attack. He then dragged the mum of 2 into a taxi, wearing her pajamas and covered with dog feces and urine. But quick-thinking Rosie managed to secretly alert the taxi driver and he drove her to safety. Little, 34, was jailed for 3 years and 7 months at Liverpool Crown Court last week after admitting assault occasioning actual bodily harm and false imprisonment. Rosie said, "I thought he was going to kill me that night. I had bruises for months afterwards. The taxi ride lasted only around 10 minutes, but it felt like forever. My mind was racing with possibilities. I thought about throwing myself out onto the road, or screaming out of the windows for help. When Daniel got out, I remained in the taxi and without moving my face at all, I said to the driver, 'Just drive. Just go. Now.' As he drove off, Daniel was grabbing the door, trying to get back in. I only just got away. I want every woman out there to see his face and know what he is capable of." Rosie claimed that the attack Little was jailed for was the culmination of a long period of abuse. She said, "I was 3 months pregnant when he grabbed my hair in an argument. When we went out, I had to have my eyes down, at the pram, so I couldn't look at other men. When I was home, I had to hand him my phone and keys. He alienated me from all my friends and family." In 2020, Rosie ended the relationship. 2 years on, he made contact, asking to see the children. She said, "I told him he could still see the children, but someone else would be present to supervise, and not me." Daniel reacted angrily and spiraled over a period of days, eventually ending up under arrest for attacking a stranger. When he was released, in December last year, he went immediately to where Rosie and her children were living. She says, "I was woken about 11:30 p.m. by a loud banging. I went down to open the back door and he barged in from the garden. He was telling me it was all my fault, that I'd taken away his family, and I would have to pay for it. I knew the attack was coming. His eyes were completely dead. I had no way of getting through to him." Little pinned her against the fridge freezer by her throat before throwing her against the kitchen units. The attack continued upstairs, and into the bedroom, where he punched, kicked, and slapped her repeatedly. Rosie said, "He kept telling me I needed to learn my lesson. Every now and again he stopped hitting me and made me hug him, and he'd say, 'I pinky promise I won't hit you again.' Then he'd start hitting me, like it was all part of some sick game. It was torture. He ran himself a bath but made me sit on the toilet so he could keep an eye on me. I thought about making a run for it, but I was worried he'd catch me. He picked up a full bottle of hair conditioner and tipped it all over my head, into my eyes, and then threw the bottle at me and laughed. The dog came upstairs. He was very frightened. He hadn't been out for a POO because I wasn't allowed to take him, and he pooed on the tiles. Daniel smeared the feces right into my face, grinding it into my cheeks and my hair with a towel. I was so upset and frightened that I wet myself and he wouldn't let me get changed. I thought he was going to kill me." Rosie saw her chance of escape when, almost 6 hours later, Daniel announced he wanted to return to his home to get some clothes. She says, "I called him a taxi and I thought I might be able to persuade him to leave. But he booted me hard and forced me into the taxi with him. All through the journey, I was wondering about throwing myself out onto the road. I wanted to tell the taxi driver but wasn't sure if he'd help me. When the taxi stopped, Little got out for a cigarette and Rosie seized her chance. She said, "I knew Daniel was looking at me, expecting me to get out after him, so I said very quietly, without moving my face, 'Please drive. Just go. Now.' The cab driver said, 'Where do you want me to go?' and I saw Daniel's hand reach for the door handle. It was like it happened in slow motion. I yelled, and the driver just put his foot down and we were off. I couldn't believe it was over. He took me to the police station, and I got help. Rosie was taken to hospital with severe cuts and bruises, including a black eye, reduced hearing in her left ear, a 10 cm bruise over her shoulder to elbow, a 5 cm bruise over her chest, and swelling to her head and scalp. Officers arrested Little shortly after. Little appeared before Liverpool Crown Court last week and admitted assaults and false imprisonment. In her impact statement, Rosie told the court, "Psychologically this has affected me. I cannot sleep properly. I feel like I cannot talk to anyone but my family. I feel vulnerable as a result. When I close my eyes, I can see his face from that night. I used to love being on my own, but now I cannot do that." Little has a lengthy record of 17 previous convictions for 34 offences, including for violence. He was sentenced to 3 years and 7 months in prison, of which he will serve half before being released on license. Rosie says, "He could have killed me that night, and perhaps he would have, if it wasn't for the taxi ride. It was Daniel's aim to ruin me, but that won't happen. I won't let him win. I'm building a new life for me and my children, and our love is far stronger than his hatred."